Forget the family comes first talk. In the real world, the people who sit at your dinner table are the ones who can reach your wallet and your secrets the easiest. Machiavelli knew that being loved is nice, but being respected and a little bit feared is what actually keeps you safe. Most people will flip on you the second it benefits them, and family is no different. If you want to actually make something of yourself, you have to stop trusting everyone just because you share the same last name. Watch out for these 5 people before they trip you up. The first person you have to watch out for is the prodigal parasite. This is the sibling, the cousin, or even the sibling-in-law who is always one win away from making it big. They don't see you as a family member. They see you as a fallback plan. They move through life with a tragedy in one hand and an open palm in the other, relying on your shared blood to bypass your common sense. Machiavelli warned that men forget the death of their father sooner than the loss of their patrimony. In the streets, this means they'll cry at your funeral, but they'll also be the first ones checking your coat pockets for the car keys. The parasite is a master of the emergency. Their car broke down. Their rent is short, or they have a guaranteed business idea that just needs a little seed money. They use the history of your childhood, the games you played, the secrets you shared, to make you feel like you owe them. They bank on the fact that you're a good person. But in the game of power, being good is just another word for being a target. Imagine your brother, let's call him Leo, rolls up to your house late at night. He's got that look on his face, the one that says the world has been unfair to him again. He sits on your couch, sighs deeply, and tells you he lost his job because his boss was jealous of him. Now, he's about to get evicted. He needs $5,000 to bridge the gap, and he promises to pay you back double once his new venture takes off in a month. If you say no, he'll call you heartless. He'll tell your mother you've changed since you got a little money. He'll make sure the next family dinner feels like a courtroom where you're the defendant. If you say yes, you've just funded his next 3 months of laziness. You haven't helped him. You've just paid for the privilege of being asked for more money later. Machiavelli taught that a wise prince should never let his generosity lead to his own ruin. To get out of this without looking like the villain or losing your shirt, you have to change the currency. You don't give him the cash, you offer him a tool. When Leo asks for the $5,000, you look him in the eye and say, "I can't give you the cash, but I've got something better. I know a guy hiring for night shifts, and I'll pay for your first month of gas to get it there. Or I'll pay the landlord directly for 2 weeks, not you, the landlord, provided I see a copy of your new resume today." Watch his face. This is the moment of truth. If he were actually in trouble, he'd jump at the help. But because he's a parasite, he'll get angry. He'll tell you that he doesn't need a lecture, or that the job is beneath him. By offering a solution that requires his effort instead of your sacrifice, you've forced him to reveal his true intent. He didn't want a ladder, he wanted your lunch. The beauty of this move is that it protects your reputation and your bank account. When he goes running to the rest of the family to complain about you, your defense is bulletproof. I offered to pay his rent and find him a job, and he turned me down. You've maintained your virtue in the eyes of the public while keeping your patrimony safe from a thief. You've shown him that your pockets are closed to his drama, and eventually he'll go find a softer target who hasn't read the playbook. The second player you have to keep at arm's length is the jealous mirror. This is the cousin or sibling who is your same age and has followed a similar path, but they've stalled while you're starting to soar. They are called the mirror because when they look at you, they don't see your hard work. They only see their own failures reflected back at them. Machiavelli taught that men are more prone to revenge injuries than to reward benefits. To this person, your success is a personal injury. They feel that if you are winning, they are losing by default. They will smile to your face while secretly praying for your downfall, because your failure is the only thing that makes them feel better about their own life. In the streets, this is the person who keeps it real by pointing out your flaws every time you have a victory. They use a fake sense of honesty to poke holes in your confidence. They aren't trying to help you improve. They are trying to bring you back down to their level so they don't have to feel inferior anymore. Imagine you just bought a new car or moved into a better neighborhood. You're proud, and you invite this person over to see it. Instead of saying, "Good job," they walk around the car and point out a tiny scratch or mention that the insurance on these is a scam. If it's a new house, they'll spend the whole time talking about how the market is about to crash, and you probably overpaid. They frame their hate as looking out for you. They'll say, "I'm just being honest because I'm family." But notice how their honesty only comes out when you're winning. When you're struggling, they're the first ones to offer a shoulder to cry on, because they love seeing you beneath them. The moment you start to climb again, the honesty turns back into venom. If you listen to them, you'll start to doubt your own moves and eventually stop taking risks altogether. Machiavelli knew that the best way to protect yourself from the envious is to make yourself so powerful that their hatred cannot reach you. You don't solve this by trying to convince them that you're a good person or by sharing your wealth to make them feel better. If you give them money or help, they will hate you even more because now they owe you. The way out is to starve the mirror. You stop sharing your wins with them. You practice what Machiavelli called dissimulation. You act like things are just okay. When they ask how business is, you say, "It's a grind, man. Barely keeping my head above water." When you get a new watch, you don't wear it around them. By downplaying your success, you take away their target. If they think you are struggling like they are, they'll leave you alone. You keep your real moves in the dark and only reveal the finished product when it's so big that their petty comments don't matter anymore. You don't need their applause to be successful, and by staying quiet, you prevent them from sabotaging your engine before you've reached top speed. You let them keep looking at their own reflection while you disappear into the horizon. The third person you have to cut out of your inner circle is the information broker. This is the aunt, the friendly cousin, or the sibling who is always checking in on everyone. They act like the family's social glue, but in reality, they are a professional spy. Machiavelli taught that the fox is a master of disguise and a great hypocrite. The information broker is exactly that. A fox. They don't want to know how you're doing because they care. They want to know because information is the only currency they have to buy influence with other people. To them, your private life is just a product they can sell at the next family dinner to make themselves look important. In the streets, we know that a leak is just as dangerous as a direct hit. If your enemies, or even just your judgmental relatives, know your bank balance, your marital problems, or your next business move, they have power over you. The information broker is the one who hands them the keys to your castle while smiling and offering you a plate of food. Imagine you're at a family wedding. Your favorite aunt pulls you aside, grabs your arm, and says in a low voice, "I'm so worried about you, honey. I heard through the grapevine that things are a bit tight with your business. You can tell me, is everything okay?" Because she's family and she sounds so concerned, you feel a massive urge to vent. You're stressed, so you tell her, "Yeah, it's been a rough month and the debt is piling up a bit." You think you're sharing a moment of vulnerability with a loved one. By the time the cake is cut, 3 other cousins have already heard that you're going bankrupt. By next week, your parents are calling you in a panic, and your bitter elder uncle is telling everyone you're a failure. Your aunt didn't help you. She used your struggle to become the center of attention in every conversation she had that night. She traded your dignity for 5 minutes of being the person in the know. Machiavelli knew that a wise prince must be a great pretender and dissembler. To handle the information broker, you have to stop being an open book and start being a closed safe. You don't get out of this by confronting them. That just gives them more drama to report. The next time the information broker digs for dirt, you give them nothing but boring, perfect sunshine. If they ask about your business, you say, "It's fantastic. We've never been better." Even if the building is literally on fire behind you, you tell them everything is spectacular. When you give them nothing to gossip about, they lose their power. If you want to be really Machiavellian, you play the false trail game. Tell them a harmless, fake secret. Something like you're thinking about moving to Florida or considering buying a boat. Then you wait. When that specific piece of fake news comes back to you from a completely different relative. 2 weeks later, you have 100% proof of who the leak is. Once you know who the information broker is, you never tell them a real truth again. You treat them like a public relations firm. You only tell them what you want the whole world to hear. You stay polite, you stay close, but you keep your real plans locked away where their wagging tongue can't reach them. You let them keep talking while you keep winning in silence. The fourth person you have to watch out for is the bitter elder. This is the uncle, the grandfather, or the veteran in the family who spent 40 years in a job they hated and now wants to make sure you do the same. They are the old guard who believe that because they suffered, you should have to suffer too. Machiavelli taught that men are more likely to forgive the killing of their father than the loss of their inheritance. For the bitter elder, their inheritance is their sense of superiority. When they see a young person in the family taking risks, making moves, or earning more money than they ever did, it feels like a personal insult to their entire life story. They don't come at you with anger. They come at you with experience. They hide their sabotage under the guise of good, solid advice. They will tell you to play it safe, to stay in your lane, and to be grateful for a steady paycheck. What they are really doing is trying to clip your wings before you fly higher than they ever could. They want to keep you in the same dirt they've lived in, because if you escape, it proves that they didn't have to stay there either. Imagine you're at a family BBQ, and you mention that you're quitting your secure, boring office job to launch an online brand or move into a high-stakes industry. You're excited. You're ready to hunt. But then, your Uncle Joe, who's been at the same factory since the 80s, chimes in. He doesn't congratulate you. Instead, he shakes his head and says, "You're being foolish. You've got benefits there. You've got a pension. The world out there is a shark tank, and you're going to lose everything. People like us don't make it in that world. You should be loyal to the people who give you a paycheck." Suddenly, the air leaves your tires. You start to wonder if he's right. He's older. He's seen more, right? Wrong. He's just seen the same year 40 times. He isn't worried about your bank account. He's worried about his own ego. If you succeed, it means he wasted his life playing it safe. He needs you to fail so he can feel like his mediocrity was actually wisdom. Machiavelli knew that the lion cannot protect himself from traps and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. To handle the bitter elder, you have to be both. You don't argue with them, and you don't try to prove them wrong with words. Arguing with a bitter elder is a waste of energy because they aren't looking for a debate. They are looking for a confession that they were right all along. The move here is respectful silence. When they give you their advice on why you shouldn't take a risk, you don't fight back. You nod, you smile, and you say, "I appreciate your perspective, Uncle. You've definitely given me something to think about." This is the fox move. It makes them feel heard and keeps the peace at the dinner table. But once you leave that house, you do exactly what you planned to do. You don't tell them your progress. You don't show them your milestones. You keep your moves completely underground. Machiavelli taught that a prince should never let his true intentions be known until it is too late for anyone to stop him. By the time the bitter elder finds out you've succeeded, it's already a done deal. When you show up to the next family gathering a year later and you've clearly leveled up, they'll try to take credit for it. They'll say, "I knew you had it in you. I just wanted to test your resolve." You just smile and nod again. You've won, and you've done it without making an enemy out of a man who's already defeated by his own past. Success is the only revenge that leaves no fingerprints and requires no apology. The fifth person you have to stay sharp around is the day one anchor. This is the cousin or the childhood friend who has been there since you were both broke and dreaming. They are the person who knew you when. And they use that history as a ball and chain to keep you from changing. Machiavelli warned that men change their masters willingly, hoping to better themselves. But the anchor doesn't want you to better yourself. They want you to stay exactly as you were in the old days. To them, your growth is a betrayal of the real you. They don't want the version of you that is disciplined, wealthy, and powerful. They want the version of you that was easy for them to manage. In the streets, these are the people who constantly bring up your past mistakes to humble you just as you're starting to win. They use loyalty as a weapon to make you feel guilty for outgrowing the neighborhood or the old habits that used to define you. Imagine you've finally cleaned up your act. You're hitting the gym, you're reading books, you're working 16-hour days to build your business, and you've stopped hanging out at the local bar every night. You're becoming a new man. Then your best cousin calls you up. He doesn't ask about your goals. Instead, he says, "Man, you've changed. You're acting like you're too good for us now. Remember when we used to just chill and do nothing? You're getting all corporate on me. Don't forget where you came from." If you listen to him, you'll feel a wave of shame. You'll think that to be a real person, you have to keep doing the same low-level things you did 10 years ago. If you go back to hanging out with him, you'll find yourself back in the same cycles of wasting time and complaining about the world. This is the anchor's move. They try to pull you back into the water so they don't have to swim alone. They equate loyalty with stagnation. Machiavelli knew that a prince who wants to hold on to power must be willing to leave behind those who no longer serve the mission. He taught that the end justifies the means, and if your end goal is greatness, the means might include cutting ties with people who are dragging you down. You don't have to be a jerk about it, but you have to be surgical. The way out of this is to elevate or separate. You give them one chance to join the new version of you. Invite them to the gym. Offer them a book. Talk to them about business instead of the old drama. If they mock you or try to pull you back into the good old days, you have your answer. You don't need a big blow-up argument. That's for amateurs. Instead, you use the slow fade. You become busy. You have deadlines. You stop responding to the group chat that's filled with gossip and start spending your time around people who are where you want to be. When the anchor complains that you don't come around anymore, you simply say, "I'm focused on building a future for the whole family, and it's taking every second I've got." You frame your distance as a sacrifice for a greater cause. This way you keep your reputation clean while removing the weight from your ankles. You can't reach the mountaintop if you're carrying someone on your back who doesn't want to climb. You honor your past by outgrowing it, not by living in it forever. If you've identified these 5 people in your own family, don't panic and don't start a fight. Here is how you handle the reality of them. The biggest mistake people make is oversharing. You think because someone is your blood, they deserve to know your plans. Machiavelli taught that a wise prince should be a slow sleeper and a fast mover. In the streets, this means you keep your mouth shut until the money is in the bank and the contract is signed. You're sitting at a family dinner and everyone is asking what you're up to. You've got a big move coming, a new investment or a career change. You feel that itch to bragar, to show them you're making it. But the information broker is watching, and the bitter elder is ready to pounce. Give them the boring version of your life. Talk about the weather, a show you watched, or a minor problem you had with your car. When you act like nothing is happening, you become invisible to their envy. You solve the problem of sabotage by never giving them a target to aim at. By the time they realize you've leveled up, you're already out of their reach. You don't want to be the mean one in the family because that creates enemies, and enemies create friction. Machiavelli said it's better to be feared than loved, but he also said you should avoid being hated. If you completely cut everyone off, they will team up against you. The Prodigal Parasite asks for a favor. If you say a flat no, you become the villain of the family group chat. Set the terms of your help. If someone needs money, offer them a job or a resource that requires work. If someone wants your time, give it to them on your schedule. I can't do Sunday, but I can give you 20 minutes on Tuesday morning. By giving a little on your own terms, you maintain the image of being a good guy while keeping total control of your boundaries. You aren't being mean, you're being expensive. People don't waste the time or money of someone who is expensive. Family is the team you were born with, but it's rarely the team that gets you to the championship. You need a circle of people who aren't tied to your childhood or your mother's opinion. If you found this video useful, hit the like button to show the algorithm that you're done playing games. Subscribe and drop a comment below, and tell me which of these 5 players is currently in your circle. You don't have to use names, just let the community know you've spotted the fox. Stay sharp. I'll see you in the next one.